Cascade, Chinook, Columbus. And they're all pretty famous, well-rounded, highly used hops that were originally American.
Yeah, I think that this particular beer, it does showcase the hops in it. They're up front, but they're not, at the same time, they're not the type of hop flavor that scares you off right away.
Yes, right.
It's not one of those ones that comes with an extraordinarily high IBU. I mean, it doesn't say on here.
It's really enjoyable.
It is.
Yeah.
Some free advertising for Banded Horn there.
Hey,
Yeah.
why not?
They are. It says established 2013.
Oh, good.
Good,
We like
you were
Bandit.
right.
I'm one for one.
We like you.
All right, so the second beer?
Yes, second beer, Peak Organic, Pale Ale, pure ingredients, delicious beer. That's what their label says. Let's pour ourselves some. We should be pouring our guest first. Sorry.
Oh, no, I just know that if I tried to pour it, we would not have a podcast next Friday.
Equipment would be in trouble.
Yes.
So again, looking into the sunshine. Holding my beer up to the light.
You should see the peak should be a little clearer
It
if you're
is,
actually
yeah.
trying to look through it.
Mm.
It is quite a bit clearer.
Yeah, the pale
Same
ale will
color,
have
though.
kind of a little lower grain profile, little less hoppy than the Viridian.
Grain profile. What's that?
Well, it's
Tell me.
It's one of the 4 ingredients in beer, so
Yes.
which you know,
Grain.
of course.
Malt, right.
Right.
We're going to do that one the week after this one airs.
Good.
Malt is coming up. We're going to Blue Ox.
Going to Blue Ox?
Yep.
Wow.
We're going to learn all about that.
Perfect. Well, then I should save this. Remember next week to talk about that.
Okay.
You
All
can
right.
ask
You've
Joel
prepped us.
why a Viridian is cloudier than a Peak Pale Ale.
Oh, look at that. Nice. Thank you. He's prepping us. Maybe you should come
I'll
with
write your
us.
notes for you.
That's all right.
So, Joel.
Joel, please tell us.
You could just
What
come with
is
us.
grain
You should just be our,
profile?
guest. Long-term guest.
I haven't even tried this one yet. I've been taking pictures. If you want to find those pictures, you can find us on Instagram at Great Beer Women.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll have those all over the place.
I enjoy the Peak Organic. I am a fan. This I've had before.
So, interestingly enough, the sheep that are, what do we think? 80 yards away from us, 100. Anyway, they're in the
I
hop
think
field.
that they're invisible. I have yet to see these sheep.
You can sort of see an outline.
Snuffleupagus.
So the sheep that are down there eating the hops and the grass typically are fed spent grain. So at the end of the beer brewing process, the grain that's a byproduct from Peak would be one of the places. So Shipyard's grain, which is where Peak is, a lot of the Peak beer is brewed, along with some other local brewers, is actually hauled out to North Star Sheep Farm, which is where those sheep typically live. And it's hauled out there and it's used as sheep feed.
Oh my gosh.
We were at Rising Tide and we
Theirs
saw,
as well.
yeah,
Yep.
we saw like a little thing like this is for sheep or something.
Yep.
I love it.
Yeah, Shipyard Peak, Rising Tide, Bissell, Foundation, Austin Street, I think, too.
It would make sense. They're all
Yeah,
kind
that's
of-
an easy trip there.
Oh, that's
Yep.
nice. So we were talking about sheep treats earlier. How do you bring the sheep back once they've run away? And is that
Yeah,
spent grain?
we need video for that. It's 2 30-something-year-old men looking like 12-year-olds and giggling and yeah. Someone
So-
told me to grab the neck of the sheep and just tug on him, but I couldn't get within 15 feet, and probably would have screamed when I tried to grab his neck. So, anyway, we kind of did
Next
a
time
corralling.
you get the call, can you text me? I'll come right out.
Well, I
We'll
told
take
you
the
it was
video.
at 6 a.m.
It's all right.
no problem? We're here.
For that, I'll come and videotape that.
We had
I will.
so the first day they got out was yesterday, and it was only 1 sheep. That was also scary but manageable. Today it was 3 of them, so it was a little more challenging and trying to figure out how to do that. Yeah, there would have been good video content.
3 Musketeers.
Oh, so wonderful. I think we should just, we've already been like trampsing all over round 2, figuring out about the
We're in
hops.
it.
Let's just dive right into it. I do have a couple questions about hops. First, I don't think I'm really that great at Googling. I'm just going to
Okay.
put that out there. But I couldn't find a number of how many types of hops there are.
Ooh.
Do you know that?
I don't know the number, but it is in the high hundreds, maybe even 1,000 something.
Wow.
That's crazy.
So I would say to market today is probably a couple of hundred hop varieties that are being used. And that's not just in the U.S. We have hops from Australia, New Zealand, Germany, England, Czech, a few countries all over the world. So there are some popular ones still coming out of all of those areas. But historically, there have been many other varieties that have existed. In addition, even today, they're breeding new varieties of hops. So each year we get quite a few new varieties. They don't all, I guess to put it simplistically, take off. You know, brewers don't love them.
Right.
It might be a new variety, but it doesn't smell good, doesn't taste good, but somebody bred it, and it is different than some other hop that we used to have. And then a handful a year will become popular and start being brought into the kind of mainstream brewing scene.
Oh.
That makes me feel a little bit better that you don't know.
Yeah, there's
There's so much to know.
Yeah.
So we actually have the USDA has a research center in Corvallis, Oregon, where they, in essence, maintain every hop variety that has ever existed here. So a strain that maybe is not planted anywhere in the country anymore is at least held in this lab, so it's
Wow.
continually available. So if down the road some disease comes in, maybe this one can tolerate it, whatever it might be, right? Point is
Right.
we're keeping these strains alive and viable going forward in case they can be used for something.
We need to take a trip there.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
It is. It's really awesome. And I think that brings me to another question. Maine used to be filled with hops, right?
It was, yeah, a
And-
lot. I forget the pound number, but it was something like 85,000 pounds or something like that in 1890 or somewhere along the lines there. Yeah, Maine, New England, and New York were kind of the main growing area in the entire country in the late 1800s and very early 1900s.
Is that because, why? Why is that?
Well, probably because a lot of the population was here then originally.
True.
But what went on was this bad kind of, they call it blight then. I think it's what we call downy mildew today, which is a major pressure on our plants. Either way, some virus came through and really destroyed the crops. And it kind of lined up with the timing of Prohibition.
Oh.
So after that, when things started back up, they had started out west a little bit, and over time, that's just where the industry grew. So traditionally, over the past, say, 80 years, almost all of the hops in the country have been grown in Washington and Oregon, and a little bit in Idaho.
I did not know that. See how much we learn here?
I know.
Thank you.
I was talking to a gentleman at a bar, right? It's a workplace for me, really, is what it is, a
Yeah.
bar. So I was talking to a gentleman, and he was telling me that Maine has the perfect climate for growing hops. Would you say that?
I hope so, since I'm doing it.
Right, but I mean, like, is it...
That's what I
Yeah,
thought I
no,
read.
What
we're
is
at
it
the-
about it, I suppose I'd like to know. What is it about the Maine climate that is so good?
Hops need a dormancy period, so they need months of cold weather, right? So hops in Texas aren't really going to work. So what happens with these plants behind us? We basically cut down the entire vine, other than like a foot off the ground at harvest. And then over the winter, that little foot above the ground is just a little piece of vine. It's really nothing. It dries up and kind of dies, but the roots stay under the ground. Those roots need to sort of grow dormant and not be trying to send new growth vertically. Once that dormancy is over, they send the new growth up, which for us is in the spring, April, late April, May-ish, and that's what produces obviously the new vines every year. They just don't really work in the south. That's not the plant's native area. There's a certain zone, so that's probably from southern Canada to Pennsylvania-ish, where they will work, and the same out west, right? There's the southern region of British Columbia down to just very northern California. Even California, Northern California used to grow a decent amount of hops, but they've kind of phased out because it's not the greatest climate for them there. So other than that, Maine, we obviously have a lot of water, which is one advantage that out west, especially Washington State's really struggling with a
Yeah.
drought right now, and not even just this year, but over many years
Right.
now. So we have the advantage there with water. Our disadvantage is, of course, it's been a long time since we've grown them here. So the practices they have out there and the years of knowledge about when they need to do things and pests and diseases and things like that, we just don't have that knowledge here anymore. So that's something that we're trying to build back up. So yes, I think the climate is perfect here. The struggle is that second piece in getting to the more advanced stages.
Got it. Well, we're glad you're here.
Yeah, me too.
Yes. In Maine.
And I actually heard you talk at Rising Tide, and you had mentioned how quickly that they grow in a single day. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so for the people that, all the people, nobody can see us right now.
Or can they?
So we should give them, if people have never seen them, a quick image. We're in a field with 22-foot tall poles stuck in the ground a few feet. Those poles have a bunch of wire kind of running in between them and down these rows. From the ground, so from the head of each plant, every year we put a piece of twine into the ground at the head of the plant and then pull that way up 20 feet in the air and tie that to the wire that's up there. The plant then comes up out of the ground and the little vine-like structure is kind of tied onto that piece of twine, and it grows counterclockwise around and around that twine all year. So your growth question, there's the old adage that they can grow up to a foot a day.
Wow.
At peak growing time, which I've, for the most part, seen. My business partner Jeff actually did a time lapse one day of one going up, and you see it make like 4 or 5 spins around the piece of twine in that day.
That's crazy.
Do you have video of that?
We do.
We
can probably find it. Yeah. It's around.
Nice.
Yeah, you should email us that.
Yep.
Yes.
We can do that.
Excellent. And you said the counterclockwise. Always counterclockwise?
If you're above the equator.
Really?
It's like a toilet. So in New Zealand, they grow counterclockwise.
Wait.
What?
Clockwise, right? You said-
Counter.
I thought you
Here
said,
they go. Did I say counter?
I don't know.
If
Which
I did,
one
I
is
was
which?
wrong. They grow clockwise around the string here.
Okay. Clockwise around the string here and counterclockwise.
Yep.
Wow.
That's fascinating. Is it the same with tomatoes? Because that's how. Don't you put the? I've done
I don't
it
know.
before a long time ago at a farm. Tomato
I've
plants.
killed tomato plants.
That's easy
Hey,
to
there
do.
you go.
That's what I do. I've also killed hop plants.
Ooh.
Oh,
They're
don't
at my house.
say
though.
that here.
Well, yeah. How did you get in here?
Don't let the plants hear you.
I mean, no, they're doing really well at my house. Okay, so I have another question. I read that there are male hops and female hops, and they grow on separate plants, and you use females for beer?
You use females for beer.
How? Okay,
Well,
many
there
questions.
you go.
Well, the 4 members of the business are all male,
Ah.
so we just wanted all female plants.
But so you
Explains a
don't
lot.
need. So you don't need
You actually,
males?
everyone commercially, they're only female plants that are grown. If you had males in here, the male plants actually have a different cone for one. The cone being what we end up getting, what goes into the hop, what is the hop. But the males will also then pollinate the females, which will produce seeds in the cone.
Oh.
So way back in the day, they used to sort of allow more of them, and a lot of, or I assume all hop cones had seeds in them. But the brewers didn't like that because it's a product in there that A, they don't need, and B, it's just kind of probably clogging up systems and adding weight and doing things that are just not necessary. So commercially now, yes, they're all female.
Wow.
And they'll just keep growing without the males around.
Right.
They just don't need males.
No, they will.
Strong female plant.
Well, they are. Well, once in a while, no joke, if they're under really bad stress, you'll get a hermaphrodite.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've had actually only 2 so far this year, but we've had them usually more. Maybe this has been a better growing year. But so a plant will have a characteristic of both the female flowers and the male ones.
Wow.
That's fascinating.
And then because the males will pollinate the females, do you have to dig it up?
You actually don't, because no joke, the hermaphrodite hop plant is sterile, so it can't pollinate the females. If you had an actual bred male, yes, you would dig it up.
Okay.
You would definitely get it out of the field.
Wow.
I know. I know. This.
I didn't know where this question would go.
Yeah, didn't expect it to go there, did you?
No. No, it's really interesting.